Hi everyone, it's great to be with you again and for our latest little series of the Tales of Jesus as we explore the parables, the stories he told to his people. And this time we're looking at one of the great parables, the parable of the banquet, the parable of the great banquet. You'll find it in Luke chapter 14, and it's a really interesting parable because it's all about comparing the kingdom of God with a banquet. And if you look at the Bible reading, you'll find at the beginning of the chapter, Jesus goes to have a meal in the house of a Pharisee. And he says he's being carefully watched. That doesn't mean they're interested, it means they're trying to trip him up and find out how they can trap him. And there's a bit of dialogue going on. He talks about what you do on a Sabbath. In other words, challenge them about Sunday laws in our terms. He also talks about being humble and going to a banquet at a place, taking your place at a lower seat, not a higher seat. And so the whole context is having a meal in a Pharisee's house and talking about food and banquets and what you do. And then one bright spark says at the end of all of this to Jesus, "Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast of the kingdom of God." Pious sounding comment, and it's actually a challenge. Are you agreeing with us that we are going to be eating at the feast of the kingdom of God? And all this has a huge background, and it's not worth going into it all now. But the question is, who is the feast for? Isaiah 25 says Gentiles are allowed. But since then, some of the Jewish teaching had gone against that. And they're really saying to Jesus, who's in? Who's out? And this story of a banquet, before we get into the actual parable, I just want to explore this idea a little bit, that the kingdom of God is like a banquet. This is the thing they did actually agree on. And Jesus takes it up. A banquet. It's obviously not yet for those people there, but for Jesus, after the crucifixion and resurrection, we have to say it is now and not yet. We have some of the benefits of the banquet, but some are still to come. But a banquet, a feast. I remember when I used to live in Jordan, before I met Basma, this was. There were loads of things that you could get in the country. It's a wonderful place to live. But there were at least two things, or even three, I couldn't get. You couldn't get roast pork. You couldn't get pig meat, basically, or not, at least not easily, because it's a Muslim country. And what you could get wasn't very good quality. It's sort of Danish import salami and things like that. And so I looked forward to roast pork. Another thing you couldn't get were parsnips. They just didn't grow them there, and I still like parsnips. And a third thing you couldn't get very easily are fresh mushrooms. Again, they didn't grow them there. So when I came home, I'd say to my mum, I'd love roast pork with parsnips and mushrooms. And it was a feast to me, something I hadn't had. One of the snags we have in our country is we have food of all around the world readily available and we can really enjoy it. But just imagine you don't have that food. My roast pork and parsnip and mushrooms is nothing compared with the things they didn't have. A feast for them was a rarity. It would happen only at weddings or great events. What a king ate back then is what we can get in a restaurant today. We have to realise that for them, food was not something that made you fat, because you didn't get enough of it. Food was a luxury, a joy. And it was the symbol of God's provision. In his day, there will be a banquet with creaking tables of all the food and wine that you most enjoy. It will be a time also of celebration, because a banquet is about celebration. There is something to celebrate. It will be a time of entertainment. It'll be a time of fellowship. It'll be a time of joy. That is what the banquet represents. And Jesus is saying, This is what the life to come is about. You can get a taste of it now. In him, you get a taste of his joy, his love, his provision in Holy Communion. We get a bit of it. But in the world to come, when he returns, when all is made right, this is the symbol of God's love for us. It is a great banquet, and it's something to look forward to, a thing of hope. As we trust in Jesus and trust in him, look to his cross and his resurrection, we can be confident of the banquet to come. That is for us and all who are in him. May it be so, and may we look forward to it.